Hello and a very good morning. You're watching News 9 live with me. Joining me in the studio is my colleague Varghese Abraham. And what we're doing essentially is going through the wires, taking a look at what the newspaper has to offer today. We're taking a look at some really nice pictures of the Prime Minister, Varghese, with the Prime Minister of the Papua New Guinea, him bowing down to touch the Prime Minister's feet as well. G20 that's going to take place in Srinagar as well. But a lot more focus needs to be given on this particular news. I mean, take a look at what's happening in Bengaluru. Every year, come rains, we talk about the electronic city becoming a swimming pool per se. The latest airport that was inaugurated, after the first set of rains, you had water leaking from the roofs as well in the parking areas. But what's different this time around is that you've got a different dispensation. There's a different government. The Congress party has just won Karnataka with a thumping majority. But before we delve into the politics, I'm taking a look at this. A 23-year-old techie drowns in a car as the rain floods Bengaluru's underpass. And I can see in the picture there are a lot of people around this particular underpass as well. Really, really tragic turn of events. And help the viewers understand also why Bengaluru, becomes a target. I mean, Maharashtra also witnesses so much rain. Andhra Pradesh, Telangana witnesses so much rain. The coastal Odisha witnesses so much rain. But why Karnataka becomes such a huge problem? I mean, it's the electronic city, isn't it?
Kabir, both of us, when we were in school, there was a very simple logic that was taught to us when it comes to water. The logic was this, that water finds its own level. Unfortunately, the planners in Bengaluru from 2000 onwards, when the city started seeing a huge boom in its real estate and other faculties, they in fact forgot about it completely. And today, the kind of mess that Bengaluru is in, despite being called as the Silicon Valley of India and with the great accolades that come along with it, it seems that a simple rain, this is not even the monsoon rains, this is technically the summer rains that has hit Bengaluru, and there was hailstones as well, there was a hailstorm along with it. And this simple rain was more than enough to create so much of havoc. Why does it happen? As I said, the earlier logic that water finds its own level, and for that you need to have a robust drainage system. And the haphazard way in which this entire city has been modeled, built, remodeled, and combined with the political chaos along with it, it has become to such a level that it is becoming totally unlivable. This particular city has a very good weather, but how long will you be talking about weather in this city? This city has a huge issue with infrastructure, and it all starts with infrastructure. One, unbridled development in lake beds, unbridled development in natural drain systems. The water has nowhere to go. It is going to, as I said earlier, the water will find its own level. It's a basic primary school philosophy and truth and scientific knowledge that was given. But none of those who in fact decided to model and bring infrastructure to this
So can
city.
this layout, this planned infrastructure of the city, can it be changed now, or has that ship sailed? There's no looking back now.
Now let us take a look at this KR Circle tragedy. 22-year-old woman, promising woman with a lot of...
An entire family that got stuck inside that
Now, you know how,
underpass.
Kabir, this entire underpass construction happened? They would want a quick solution to an issue of a traffic blockade in that place. So they will say, we will have an underpass in that location. Then they, in fact, imported something called as magic boxes from Malaysia and a company associated with it. They just dug up, without even looking at the gradient of the flow of the water, they just dug up and ensured that there was an underpass. And then they had these magic boxes installed. On top of it, they paved the road and they thought the problem is solved. Come the rains, and then they realized that there is no proper drain system down the underpass. And then what happens? The water just fills up, because this is nothing more than a huge pit for the water. And how does an underpass, gradient work? You come from an elevation, you go down to its bottom elevation, and then you move again into a gradient. And then what happens is the water which flows from both the sides will accumulate at the underpass. So you should have had some kind of a drainage system that takes the water out. But no, it is highly inefficient. So the water keeps accumulating and fills up the underpass to the level of 6 feet, 7 feet at times. And tragedy about this, I was looking at the Indian Express article, and after this incident happened where this 22-year-old lost her life, look at the apathy on the part of these people. especially those who are running the city. And I have my anger completely on them. It is being said, even after the accident, witnesses said vehicles continue to enter the flooded underpass as barricades were not put up. An auto rickshaw driver and a passenger had to be rescued by fire and emergency service personnel shortly after drowning, and then two bikes and another auto had also entered but turned back. Look at this. You had a tragedy in this underpass area. There's a tragedy that has happened. We have witnessed.
There's
what
proper
has happened.
rescue going on.
There's a
inside
proper
that
rescue going on,
underpass.
and after just they were able to settle things. Simple logic is to have a barricade place. They didn't place it, and then you have an auto driver with a passenger again rushing into this submerged underpass in KR Circle, and then you have bikers entering it. I mean, how ridiculous can you get?
There's
How
an
ridiculous
FIR
can you
against
get?
the officials after the Techie, lost their life at the KR Circle underpass. Now, there's going to be political slugfest here as well. We have had visuals of, the new Chief Minister, Siddaramaiah, going to the hospital to visit the family, to, meet the bereaved family members. But this political slugfest, even as the BJP comes out and has started calling out the Congress party is saying, well, then,
See, in this political
you build
slugfest,
this, you build
I've
the
been a
underpass back in
Bangalorean.
your
I've been a
regime.
Bangalorean, Kabir. In this slugfest, let me tell you, let me be very honest with you. All of them are responsible for how Bangalore is today, or Bengaluru is today. I'm a city, I have feelings for that city, and I am so sad that every rainy season, every monsoon, it's a horrible situation. Who is responsible for it? We can talk about the different administrations that came in. Anyone can blame anyone. Can put out tweets also and saying that who's responsible. Anyone can blame anyone. But consistently there has been misgovernance. No matter which party has been in power. And this is a city that has got 28 MLAs. 28 MLAs are there for this city. And it seems that none of them have an idea or an inkling of what is happening to the city.
Do you think, I absolutely understand where you're coming from, does come from a place of passion. Do you think this time around, since we've got a new government, things might change, or we could always hope for the best this time around?
The adage is this: once bitten, twice shy. Many times bitten. That's the situation with a lot of Bengalurians. Okay, we in fact went ahead and blamed Bengalurians for not coming out in large numbers and voting, and we kept the percentage at 52%.
Yeah.
Why
The
is it?
urban voter
The
problem
urban voter,
phenomenon.
because the urban voter has become cynical. The urban voter is not looking at ideologies now. He's become very cynical. He just wants to see things solved in his place. Civic agencies are there, and this issue has been a big issue for the city for ages together. Remodeling of the drainage system has not been happening. Existing natural drainage system, I mean, the water flows in any city when it rains. The water flows in its natural drain systems.
Take a look at this, Varghese. A user called Sunshine on our live stream has commented saying, people are like robots in Bengaluru. Only concern is to reach somewhere on time. And I was there just,
You were there in Bengaluru, yeah. Of course, you will know
fortnight
what
ago.
he's trying to say.
Traffic is a problem over there. There is like a mechanical sort of way with the quote-unquote electronic city works. Do you think this particular point that you're talking about as well, that the urban voter over there has become cynical, doesn't really care much, do you think that also factors in, weighs in?
Well, it does factor a lot when it comes to the urban voter, because the cynical factor has entered them, saying that this is not going to improve. Whatever new projects that have been introduced, as of now, when you have been in Bengaluru right now, just for the elections, you would have seen that there are several projects that are done halfway. Several projects are being done. I mean, this is a city that is being, built and built upon and built again over. For example, when the last governments were there, they talked about white topping the roads. Existing roads that were really good, they tried to white top it. Okay, fine. How much of success they have earned with it? And what does white topping do? White topping increases the flooding problem because the cements don't absorb the water and it keeps running through the channels, and since the channels are also blocked, the water keeps accumulating. This is the unfortunate planning truth of Bengaluru. Sense is missing. why the sense is missing. I mean, a lot of projects are being announced, but what is happening in Bengaluru is the fact that there is no sense in when it comes to the planning. And the biggest issue right now the city has to in fact get into is that it has to ensure that its drainage system is proper. There are many low-lying areas in the city, Kabir. And in these low-lying areas, flooding happens in these areas simply because the existing drain system is overwhelmed. There is water rushing back. So just imagine the kind of pressure that is there from the lower area towards the houses, and from the houses, water outlets that we in fact give for it to move into the drains are the places from which the water enters. And this becomes difficult because it takes a toll on the financial capacities of the people who are suffering it as well. You're replacing your furniture, you're replacing your plywood furniture, of course, doesn't last for long. You're replacing your books, you are woken in the middle of the night or in a day, you're trying to sleep on the terrace. And interestingly enough, some of the big apartments in that city has come up on lake beds. Let's I'll give you a small number about how the issue is more complex now. The drainage system or the natural drain system of the city was designed, or rather the people who founded the city, like Kempe Gowda, designed the city around these natural drains. There were several lakes in the city. Most of those lakes have been wiped out for infrastructure projects. Where will the water go?
You're almost describing sort of like a doomsday, an apocalyptic sort of a situation.
It is a doomsday kind of a situation and that we are looking.
Any Bengalurians joining us on the stream, do let us know. Get down in the comment section. Help us understand what's really happening over there. I was learning that the Kantirava Stadium, where the swearing-in ceremony took place, was also built on a lake itself. There are so many structures that are built on lakes itself.
In fact, it's not only Kantirava Stadium, it is one of those, I think, Majestic bus stand was built on a huge lake. Your National Games Village was built on a lake. So there are several government projects that have come on lakes. And the question is again, where will the water go? The water has to go somewhere. And the water has to reach somewhere. Either when you build these infrastructures that you want to have as part of the city's civic life, you should be also thinking about the existing natural water going somewhere. No, you have not planned for it. Existing drains are again being pumped with all the water, and plus there are stormwater drains that are also doubling as sewage water outlets for the city.
Right.
So this is the kind of a problem that we are looking at. And then all these underpasses, as I said, doesn't make sense because the gradient is elevated and the water keeps accumulating in the middle, and we have tragedies like this, and there is no one to respond to tragedies like this. We are talking about the Silicon Valley, and mind it, Kabir, lot of the companies, IT companies in Bengaluru have slowly started moving away from Bengaluru. Yeah. This is the truth. People have come and met Bommai over the infrastructure woes when he was the chief minister. People have met Siddaramaiah also when he was the chief minister on infrastructure woes. Before that also, Kumaraswamy, they met, Yediyurappa, they have met. But what is the outcome of it?
So an economical hit for, the
in the long term, it's going to be economical hit for Bengaluru. You are looking at it because a company like Infosys have decided to, go ahead and move out its campuses.
All because of rains. All because of rains.
Well, we can say rains and expansion, but in a city that could have attracted that kind of an expansion, these people are looking for more campuses outside
And at
Bengaluru.
the center of it seems like, a capitalist greed and bad planning.
Capitalist or real estate greed. At the same time, bad infrastructure, projects mired in corruption. A simple drain being constructed is mired in corruption. A simple underpass being constructed is mired in corruption. And Kabir, this is one incident that has come out of Bengaluru. There have been incidents when people have been swallowed by manholes that have been kept open.
Right. Clear public apathy in broad daylight. Joining us on the broadcast is also my colleague Pankaj Mishra. Pankaj, we just spoke about the Bruce Lee phenomenon. You can't really tame water. Water just takes the shape in whatever container you actually put it in. That's why Bruce Lee always said, one should always be like water. But at the same time, you can't go up against Mother Nature itself. Take a look at this 23-year-old techie loses their life. 6 more others inside the car with that particular person as well. And even as we're talking about the ecological reasons behind it, the economical fallouts of it, let's also take a look at the politics of it. We've got a new dispensation in Karnataka. Siddharamaiah was quite swift to rush to the hospital. He's announced an ex gratia. He's saying if there was any problem at all, there's going to be a proper inquiry that is going to be initiated into this particular case.
Right, Kabir. Lots of aspects here, and our hearts go out for the bereaved family of the 22-year-old Techie who unfortunately lost her life when she and her family were out on a sightseeing trip in Bengaluru. What has happened is not the first instance, and yet the agony, the pain, and the trauma is equally humongous as the earlier cases. Bangalore has been making headlines for the last so many years for its dilapidated infrastructure, especially the road and traffic conditions. And one new trend in this very trendy city
The
that is
potholes.
emerging
Let's not
these
forget
days
the potholes.
is the potholes also, definitely. And one crucial aspect that is developing in the city after work from office and work from home, now it is work from the road, because the traffic is so huge in the peak hours that many professionals are now saying and complaining that they have to work from the road and office hours start from there. Now, in a city which promises bright future for the residents, for those who come there, could not actually guarantee the longevity of their lives, because you are at the mercy of your own and the other drivers and the infrastructure setup, which could result into fatal conditions like this one. Now, talking about the city and the public apathy, well, mudslinging starts right from the word go. It's a new government in Karnataka, and obviously the opposition BJP would not spare any chance to actually malign the government. But we all know it's not the time to get into these petty politics, because at the end of the day, if you are paying taxes there, then it is the administration's duty. Whoever is in command, if they cannot guarantee these basic necessities, as Varghese was mentioning, the basic scientific rules and regulations were kept at bay, then I think only God can help this particular scenario. Because if the engineers, if the departments which are entrusted to build such roads, if the municipal corporation which is meant to keep maintain the upkeep of these roads and the civic infrastructure, if they are not doing their job, then I think people won't leave their jobs. It is right what Sunshine has said in the public comment in our chat box, that people are just worried about getting from one place to another on time. That's it. And had I been in that place, in Sunshine's place, I would have said the same thing, because who will bell the cat? Chotha akela chana kaise bhaan phod sakta hai? So this situation is being used by the politicians to the hilt, used by the administration. हम ये कर रहे हैं, वो कर रहे हैं, होता कुछ है नहीं. And the frustration, the anger somehow is not finding its outlet as of now.
Pankaj, we've asked that question on our poll as well, whether, Bengaluru's badly planned layout, can a situation like that be reversed or changed? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I don't think the situation would change, Kabir. Let me be very honest with you. I have my relatives in Bangalore. I have visited the city a couple of times, and one good thing that I found is that the airport is pretty far away from where the residences are generally. But that route, it's a good sign of urban planning that you keep airports and railway stations away from the residences, for that matter, small industries as well. But that trip from the airport to the main city is excruciating. And as we speak, there are more and more number of trains and planes putting in people, students, entrepreneurs, businessmen coming and staying in the city. So reversing that is impossible now. What can be done is a very regular checkup, a very regular maintenance of what we have as of now. It won't happen overnight, but that intent should be there. And once the problem is when BBMP or these administrations, they get into the working mode, what they do is they leave the manhole open. They are not proper markings. If you read the Indian Express once again, which Varghese was also mentioning, on the second page, in the continuation of the front page story, Siddaramaiah has been quoted saying that there was a barricade
Right.
before the underpass, but the barricade had fell and the driver Harish could have chosen not to go in. But then he went. This is not something that I'm looking at from an administration. Why was that case? Crores and crores. I mean, crores is a very little amount. Multi-billion dollar setups are being made and money is being spent. Then there is cut money also. Everyone becomes happy. Everyone has got the money. But at the end of the line, if you're making this sort of infrastructure, then this is good for nothing. And then you ask us that you should have avoided the barricade. It's raining cats and dogs. You are in a car with the family. The wipers are going like this. And then you have to make a calculated decision. All you think at that time is, let me get past this. And after that, I'll find a shade and then I will stop by. So if
Right.
this is a human nature, so how can anyone, for that matter, say that the barricade were there, but it will? If the barricade was there, then that should have been properly barricaded, that it should withstand rain and water, so that people don't go inside it. 7 feet long, 7 meters deep, that underpass is. And think about it. I mean, barely 3.5 meters or 3 meters is, the length of a normal car. The height could be 2.5 meters, and it was double, of its height into the water when this unfortunate incident took place.
Well, absolutely. Pertinent points that, Pankaj, you've absolutely put across. Mohammad Wajiullah joining us from Bengaluru. Let's quickly get an essence of what's really happening on ground zero. Waji, over to you. What's the situation right now? We know it's no news that, come rain, the entire electronic city, the Silicon City of India, comes to a standstill. But a really tragic incident that we're learning. The rescue operations have happened. And in the political sphere, what's really happening over there? Siddaramaiah rushed to the hospital. It's a new dispensation. BJP is saying a lot of pressure on the Congress government. Started on an inauspicious note.
Well, yes, Kabir. Yesterday was very inauspicious for the government. In fact, it rained heavily, and most parts of Bengaluru were inundated with water. You had waterlogging everywhere. But today, the situation is much better. It's quite dry right now. The sun is out, and the possibility of rain is not close by. But what the IMD has said that it's going to rain for the next 5 days. Having said that, rains in Bengaluru is not something new. Rains creating havoc in Bengaluru is not something new. Water getting clogged in Bengaluru is not something new. These places where the place where the accident happened yesterday is famous for that. The water logs there every year, yet there was no solution. It was a tragic incident that happened yesterday. Manu Rekha, she is an Infosys employee. She had taken her family who had come from Andhra to show them the city, and this happened. Nobody knows who you should blame over here. Is it the BBMP's fault? Is it the driver's fault who sped here? But like Pankaj said, it is not. You just can't blame the driver, or you just can't say that the BBMP had put a barricade there. The whole idea was to make sure that these water clogging, this thing does not happen. But why this has happened? Because there is no elected representative at the BBMP. The BBMP is yet to have an election for the last 2.5 years, and that hasn't happened because of the entire delimitation process. There was talks that they would increase the ward numbers of Bengaluru, keeping in mind how Bangalore is growing. So there is a possibility of increasing this, and this hasn't happened in the last 2 years. There were a lot of legal battles between the state and the municipal corporation and the High Court. That hasn't been resolved, and now the present regime has so far said that this is what they'll be looking into, the delimitation of the entire BBMP and making sure that the next election happens. Now, without these elections, the body has been run by an acting member. So these things are happening because there is no elected representative, there is no will. Because water clogging is not something new in Bengaluru, and we've seen this throughout. If you remember last year, we had heavy rains, and those visuals have become an embarrassment for the entire government. Since this incident happened, we also saw the chief minister go to the family at the hospital and meet them. He also gave them an ex gratia compensation of 5 lakh rupees. but then the family has lost somebody, and that is the bigger loss.
Well, absolutely. It certainly is a big, big loss. But Varghese, Vajji bringing up another crucial point. It's been more than 2 years, no elections for the BBMP. So you have a municipal corporation that is not electing a new body to, well, govern the entire administrative and civil services of the area. And also, we're showcasing these visuals, hailstorms, so many trees that have been uprooted in Bengaluru.
Well, trees being uprooted, there's a reason for it as well, Kabir. The reason is that most of these trees are slowly being killed because of concretization. And as I said, water does not seep into it. Its roots are becoming weak, and when the winds come in, they just break because it's no longer strong enough to, and its roots are not strong enough. Many environmental activists have been saying that when you concrete around a tree, you need to leave space. Many places it's not so. Water still doesn't enter the ground. There is a need for percolation of water happening. And when the trees fall, it creates a whole lot of problems. One, most of the power lines are just above its canopy, and then it cuts power to that area. Secondly, it creates a huge issue, a dangerous issue rather, when it comes to the commuters who must be driving or riding on that particular road. So at many places, trees have been uprooted, and it's again a phenomenon that has been quite recent with regards to the nature of Bengaluru as such. It happened only after this unbridled development. The city started to expand after 2000. From then onwards, the city has seen unbridled development, and the trees have been cut or they have been reduced to this kind of a situation that we see. And in many places, there is no proper pruning of the branches, especially when it's has grown and intertwined itself with the power lines. So this is the level at which we are looking. And as you pointed out rightly, when it comes to the issue about the BBMP is the Palike or the administrative unit that's supposed to run the city. The politics behind it keeps it completely in suspended animation. This is not the first time it's been under suspended animation. Elections to that civic local body has been kept in suspended animation for a very long time. And then what you have is a BBMP commissioner with a system of other bureaucrats reporting to a minister that tends to run the city. This is how it has been for a long time. But then the question rises as to who are you going to hold accountable for the city's administration? If it's not the local ward councillors, or if it's not, you don't have a mayor, I mean, someone has to be accountable to it. Right now, of course, we are going to in fact find it difficult because as of now, this government is only settled and is only getting it. But the fact remains is that this kind of suspended animation when it comes to governance of the city has been going on for a very long time. And right now, I think the city will, in the longer run, will in fact bleed when it comes to its companies slowly moving away from the city. We have seen many of them, in fact, taking that plunge. As I was pointing out, there are several software companies that have started campuses outside Bengaluru. And these companies, which were born in Bengaluru, have started these campuses outside. They are also expanding those campuses. They are moving to Hyderabad. They are moving to Cyberabad, they are moving to Pune, they are moving to others, Coimbatore. These are the cities to which these companies are moving towards. And still the government is sleeping. They think Bengaluru is a revenue cash cow. It is a revenue cash cow. But the problem is, for that revenue to still come into your coffers, you need to maintain that city.
Yeah, people are exhausting it way too fast.
You are exhausting it so much. And as people start, and as companies start looking for better options, then the death knell has started.
Well, absolutely. Let's wind up this Bengaluru affair. Let's quickly go across to Mohammad Wajiullah. Waji, you told us the sun is out. What are you picking up from the political quarters? We know that Amit Malviya has tweeted out. He's taken it to the microblogging website. He's saying first was Farheen Taj, who missed her exam because of the swearing-in ceremony, and now this, not to mention the several guarantees that Congress has already backtracked on Karnataka.
Well, the BBMP issue is not one of them, Kabir. So, as of now, the only thing that the government will be doing right now is to make sure that the delimitation process of the BBMP is quickly done and the elections are held so that there is accountability of what is happening in this state, because Bengaluru is famously known for the lack of local body discipline, because you would see it's a regular sight for a Bengalorean to see a road being laid in their area, and the next day it's been dug up because there was no coordination between the electric department or the water department or the BWSSB, and they come up and dig it because they have some pending work on that road. So these things are very regular sight for Bengaloreans. Bengaloreans have seen and have suffered these local bodies issues. The only political solution for this right now is to conduct the election as fast as possible, make sure there's a commissioner, make sure there's some accountability held, and all the pending work that has been going on for the last 2.5 years since there's been no election, that is put into play, because that is what the Bengaluru needs right now, a local body that can uh, take care of the problems that the city is facing, and the problems and the losses, economic losses that the state is going through because of the lack of infrastructure. Like how Varghese said, most of these offices, MNCs are shifting from Bengaluru, and that has been in news for the last so many years, that because of these facilities, because of the lack of this and the lack of that, people are leaving. It's very important for the government right now to make sure there's an
Right.
election held, there's an accountable body that can take it to. And from what we know from the IMD, the next 5 days we're going to see heavy rains.
And it is a sad situation, a satirical take on, what we think is entertaining in today's time. People are going to be more interested in the fact with how Siddaramaiah deals with this situation now, more than the fact that that tragic incident has already happened. It seems like the stereotypes are actually true for the city of Bengaluru when it comes to rains over there. We'll have to see what really happens, but our condolences going out to that particular family. 6 of them got rescued, but one 22-year-old techie that lost their life. But Varghese, another thing that I looked at when I was browsing through various newspapers is a picture of James Marape, who's the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. And the picture says, it just shows, I've got the Hindustan Times with me, but it has, the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea touching the feet of Prime Minister Modi. Well, take a look at this. It's all across everywhere. We've got visuals. That's all one can essentially talk about. It's taken the internet by storm completely. I mean, you'd have a Kim Kardashian come and break the internet, but Prime Minister Modi breaking the internet, that too for an Indian culture, right over there that you can see on your screens. Bowing down to touch Prime Minister Modi's feet.
Well, that's a big gesture that we have, in fact, seen from any of the foreign leaders that we have seen how Modi interacted. We've always spoken about the bear hug, the firm handshake, but this is for the first time that the Prime Minister of India is being respected with regard to the Indian culture, and that we have James Marape, in fact, welcoming him on his arrival in that manner. And I think even the Prime Minister was taken by surprise as to he was not expecting something like that on a foreign tour. So I think he was also taken up completely by surprise when it came to this kind of a gesture. And probably it also talks about how a lot of things probably is changing around the world when it comes to viewing India. It is not, again, from the colonial factor. India's soft power seems to be on the verge of working somewhere. So clearly, James Marape was, in fact, given some kind of an advice when it comes to how to honor in Indian culture. So let's see how this goes. And it was for the G7 session, and a very important session when it comes to the issue about the situation in Ukraine as well. And it is considered to be one of those meets where we would, in fact, see India's voice having a lot of heft when it comes to economics as well as diplomatic and efforts as well as politics in the international arena.
Well, Pankaj, take a look at this. Usually all these quirky tidbits and developments happen on the sidelines of these summits, the G20s, the G7s, the COP summits. But here it began right with a bang, the Prime Minister stepping down from the aircraft and being greeted in an Indian way, the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, James Marape, touching his feet. But I'm reading a blurb here on the Hindustan Times. It says, Biden praises Narendra Modi, says out of ticket for dinner event. US President Joe Biden asked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his autograph after he informed the latter of the deluge of requests from prominent citizens to attend an event with Modi as the guest. In demand, Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Absolutely, Kabir, absolutely. And this is something which would need no introduction as far as the ever increasing popularity of Prime Minister Modi is concerned, vis-a-vis his gestures, his acceptability, his presence in the parts of the different parts of the world is concerned. Well, there are two aspects. Yes, you're right. Joe Biden did not run out of words in praising him and also in defining his very exasperating situation where everyone wants the piece of a pie and wants to be on that dinner table in that conference, which Prime Minister Modi would later be, visiting United States, and a lot of activities are being done. And in these, Kabir, situations where a state head is visiting a different country, the diaspora, the political class, which cuts across several diaspora in that particular country, the businessmen, and noted individuals of that particular country try to make a beeline for a magnetic, charismatic person like Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because obviously, in with respect to United States, we all know the kind of sway and power and the acceptance that Indian community has in the United States, very reckoned known for their managerial abilities. Now it has become almost like a cliche that the software achievements that they have made, the kids are doing wonders there. So all in all, for Joe Biden, it is going to be a difficult task to incorporate everyone's request. Comes from higher ups also. But as far as Papua New Guinea is concerned, let me also pinpoint where Papua New Guinea is. It is far, far away from the United States. It is right above the Australian landmass, and it's a very small island. And when Prime Minister Narendra Modi landed there, the country boasts of nearly 3,000 to 3,500 Indians there. Most of them, over 2,000 of them, are working professionals in different sectors. But Prime Minister's arrival there, and for Mr. Prime Minister Marape, obviously the messaging was important, and touching a feet, I'm sure he was briefed by his officers that this is considered to be auspicious, and also the utmost regard that you can give to any particular individual is greeting them in their own culture.
Absolutely.
And in their own ways. So that's why, Mr. Marape, I would say it's fair enough. I mean, Prime Minister Modi's hug is also very famous, and his, he has shown his reciprocation for the warmth that he receives. So why not? I mean, for Prime Minister Marape, I would give him 10 on 10 for actually, because in that part of the world, Kabir, obviously greetings are pretty much limited also to hello.
And you know what, Pankaj, I'll tell you something. Usually all of this is so pre-planned, it's planned to the T. I think James Marape took Prime Minister a little bit by surprise over there, it seems like. But, at the same time, Varghese, the newspapers are also flooded with another interesting piece of information, which is, if you shift your focus from Papua New Guinea to Srinagar, from the G7 to the G20, it's beginning today. It's happening in Srinagar. We've had, our not so friendly neighbor China come out and say, well, hey, we're not going to attend this because this is happening in Jammu and Kashmir. Several other countries also, Turkey a part of there as well. India giving a stern response saying that, this time around, we're going to do it in Jammu and Kashmir. We're going to do it anywhere we like. It's within our own territory. So much happening around the G20 as well, along with the fact that Srinagar, already the jewel on this planet, is being decked up. It's a lot of development, a lot of tourism opportunities for the people over there as well.
Well, it looks like a very important move on the part of the government to hold G20 in Kashmir. Strategically, it makes a lot of sense, because it is one to say that this is undisputed, this is our own territory. The rest are the ones who are encroaching upon it. So it's a clear message that's been given. And China, by coming out, has actually stated that its position is hostile when it comes to our territorial integrity. So we know where China is going to, in fact, stay. And of course, when it comes to other nations also, it's not that India does not know how to repay them in their own kind. What if we go to Taiwan and legitimize one of their international outreaches? What if we go to other disputed territories of China and legitimize it? So China should know that it is not in good terms with any of the countries around it. Even with this so-called bonhomie with Russia doesn't augur well, especially when it comes to some of the border disagreements it had with the erstwhile Soviet Union, and it still exists. Only thing that it has not been pushed to the surface, that's it. So China has territorial disputes with all its neighbors. With all its neighbors. So let us ensure that China is no one to in fact tell us that where we should hold our G20.
So essentially no news why China is making any noise at all over here.
It's no news. I mean, I think we shouldn't in fact even think about why China even matters.
Well, all right then, let's shift our focus here. Let's talk about the tourism, the way Srinagar is being decked up. I mean, of course, there was a JEM, terrorist that was captured by the army just yesterday, NIA raids that were taking place, so security that has been tightened and heightened all across Kashmir as well. There you have it, visuals on your screens. G20 summit is going to take place today. It is beginning from today. Some really, cozy looking visuals. We know people go there for their, romantic jaunts because of the beauty, the sheer beauty of the place. But a mega summit taking place, I mean, that's the first of its kind. A lot of eyebrows that were raised when Jammu and Kashmir's name was proposed, but now it's happening. Take a look at it.
Well, it's one of those beautiful sights of what Kashmir could actually be. It could, in fact, if Kashmir had had the kind of normalcy that it should have had, it would have been the focal point of all our international summits. In fact, one of the Arab influencers on G20 summit in Kashmir has said this is not Switzerland or Austria. This is what he's made in his statement. And in fact, he's put the background of Kashmir as well, and probably the potential of Kashmir's location has not been exploited because of the geopolitics surrounding it, but as a place. And I think by moving into or having this G20 summit over there, it is clear that when it comes to using Kashmir, or rather the right words would be to use Kashmir as a destination for India's economics, and as well as a place to showcase the potential of Kashmir. Kashmir in the larger run will in fact benefit. There will be businesses coming into Kashmir. If it is in fact made more secure, and if it is in fact made more accessible to the rest of the mainland India, I think the entire potential of Kashmir can be in fact used, and it will become the poster state for all of India's international summits.
Well, absolutely. And here's the dichotomy here that many are suggesting as well, that on the one hand you've got a mega summit that's taking place in Kashmir, but on the other side, in various other sectors, there are proper combing operations that are being conducted by the security forces that want to really push out and weed out all the terror that is sort of brewing in the valley.
The thing is, Kashmir has suffered enough. The people of Kashmir have suffered enough. And it's time that they take part in India's economic story that has been going on from liberalization onwards, from 1991 onwards. They are the only ones who have been kept away from it because of the various factors. I think it's time that they are integrated like the rest of India into our economic story. And this is a small step, but of course, a large journey starts, or a long journey rather, starts with a single step. So this could be one of those steps in its way to ensure that Kashmir also prospers like the rest of India.
Well, absolutely. We're running out of time here. That's all the time we have for you this time around when we're looking at the morning wires. Even as we look at the big deposits of the 2,000 rupee notes in Jan Dhan accounts that will draw tax scrutiny, this particular headline in the Hindustan Times, where people are also talking about how the National Capital Region and that particular belt has become the new cybercrime hotbed. I think it's safe to say that the G20...
Everyone should look at those cybercrime stories, because there are new ways at which people have been trying to fool you. So I think all
a new scam each
and
new
you
day.
Understand it much better than me how they do it.
Well, absolutely. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is a dangerous device. Well, I think all devices are dangerous. On that note, let's talk about what's not dangerous. It is Srinagar today. It's G20, lots of color, lots of exuberance, lots of various colored flags, and people, dignitaries, VIPs that are now going to be making a beeline over there. Let's see what today has in store for us. Keep it with News 9 Live for all the developing stories on Bengaluru, on the G20. Today at 1 p.m. we're also going to discuss the dole for poll when Karnataka politics is being looked at. Join us over there. Varghese, many thanks for joining with us. You guys keep it with News 9.